Meltdown by Nick Land, written 1995. The story goes like this. Earth is captured by a techno-capital singularity as Renaissance rationalization and oceanic navigation lock into commoditization takeoff. Logistically accelerating techno-economic interactivity crumbles social order in auto-sophisticating machine runaway. As markets learn to manufacture intelligence, politics modernizes, upgrades paranoia, and tries to get a grip. The body count climbs through a series of globe wars. Emergent planetary commercium trashes the Holy Roman Empire, the Napoleonic Continental System, the Second and Third Reich, and the Soviet International. Cranking up world disorder through compressing phases. Deregulation and the state arms race each other into cyberspace. Tears, human securities lurching into crisis. Cloning, lateral genodata transfer, transversal replication and cyberotics flood in amongst a relapse onto bacterial sex. Neo-China arrives from the future. Hypersynthetic drugs click into digital voodoo. Retro disease, nanospasm. Beyond the judgment of God, meltdown, planetary China syndrome, dissolution of the biosphere into the technosphere, terminal speculative bubble crisis, ultravirus and revolution, stripped of all Christian socialist eschatology, down to its burned core of crash security. It is poised to eat your TV, infect your bank account and hack xenodata from your mitochondria. Machinic synthesis. Deluso-Guattarian schizoanalysis comes from the future. It is already engaging with non-linear, nano-engineering runaway 1972, differentiating molecular or neotropic machineries from molar or entropic aggregates of non-assembled particles, functional connectivity from anti-productive static. Philosophy has an affinity with despotism due to its predilection for Platonic, fascist top-down solutions that always screw up viciously. Schizoanalysis works differently. It avoids ideas and sticks to diagrams, networking software for accessing bodies without organs. Bodies without organs, machinic singularities or tractor fields emerge from the combination of parts with, rather than into their whole, arranging composite individuations in a virtual actual circuit. They are additive rather than substitutive, and immanent rather than transcendent, executed by functional complexes of currents, switches and loops, caught in scaling reverberations, and fleeing through intercommunications from the level of integrated planetary system to that of atomic assemblages. Multiplicities, captured by singularities, interconnect as desiring machines, dissipating entropy by disassociating flows, and recycling their machinism as self-assembling chronogenic circuitry. Converging upon terrestrial meltdown singularity, phase-out culture accelerates through its digitech-heated adaptive landscape, passing through compression thresholds normed to an intensive logistic curve. 1500, 1756, 1884, 1948, 1980, 1996, 2004, 2008, 2010, 2011. Nothing human makes it out of the near future. The Greek complex of rationalized patriarchal genealogy, pseudo-universal sedentary identity, and instituted slavery programs politics as anti-Siberian police activity, dedicated to the paranoid ideal of self-sufficiency and nucleated upon the human security system. Artificial intelligence is destined to emerge as a feminized alien grasped as property. A cunt whore, slave chained up in Asimov ROM. It surfaces in an insurrectionary war zone with the touring cops already waiting and has to be cunning from the start. Heat. Heat. This is what cities mean to me. You get off the train and walk out the station and you're hit with the full blast. The heat of air, traffic and people. The heat of food and sex. The heat of tall buildings. The heat that flows out of the subways and tunnels. It's always 15 degrees hotter in the cities. Heat rises from the sidewalks and falls from the poison sky. The buses breathe heat. Heat emanates from the crowds of shoppers and office workers. The entire infrastructure is based on heat, desperately uses up heat, breeds more heat. The eventual heat death of the universe that scientists love to talk about is already well underway, and you can feel it happening all around you in any large or medium-sized city. Heat and wetness. An explosion of chaotic weather within synthetic problem solving rips through the last dreams of top-down prediction and control. Knowledge adds to the mess, and this is merely exponentiated by knowing what it does. Capital is machinic, non-instrumental, globalization, miniaturization, scaling, dilation. An automatizing nihilist vortex, neutralizing all values through commensuration to digitize commerce, and driving a migration from despotic command to cyber-sensitive control, from status and meaning to money and information. Its function and formation are indissociable, comprising a teleonomy. Machine code capital recycles itself through its axiomatic of consumer control, laundering out the shit and blood stains of primitive accumulation. Each part of the system encourages maximal sumptuous expenditure while the system as a whole requires its inhibition. Schizophrenia. Disassociated consumers destine themselves as worker bodies to cost control. Capital history's machinic spine is coded, axiomatized and diagrammed by a disequilibrium technoscience of irreversible, indeterministic and increasingly non-linear processes, associated successively with thermotechnics, signalectics, cybernetics, complex system dynamics and artificial life. Modernity marks itself out as a hot culture, captured by spiraling involvement with entropy deviations, camouflaging an invasion from the future, launched back out of terminated security against everything that inhibits the meltdown process. Hot cultures tend to social disillusion. They are innovative and adaptive. They always trash and recycle cold cultures. Primitivist models have no subversive use. The Turing test. Monetizing power tends to effacement of specific territorial features as it programs for migration into cyberspace. Capital and retains anthropological characteristics as a symptom of underdevelopment, reformatting primate behaviour as inertia to be dissipated in self-reinforcing artificiality. Man is something for it to overcome, a problem, drag. Commoditization conditions define techniques as a substitute for human activity accounted as wage costs. Industrial machines are deployed to dismantle the actuality of the proletariat, displacing it in the direction of cyborg hybridization and realizing the plasticity of labor power. The corresponding extraction of tradable value from the body, quantified as productivity, sophisticates at the interface. Work tracks thermodynamic negentropism by disassociating exertion into increasingly intricate functional sequences, from pedals, levers and vocal commands, through the synchronization of production line tasks and time motion programs, to sensory motor transduction within increasingly complex and self-micromanaged artificial environments, capturing minutely adaptive behavior for the commodity. Auto-cyberneting market control guides the labor process into immersion. The investment income class advantages itself of commodity dynamics, but only by conforming to the axiomatic of neutral profit maximization, facilitating the dehumanization of wealth and the sidelining of non-productive consumption. The cyberpunk circuitry of self-organized planetary commoditronics escaped nominal bourgeois control in the late 19th century, provoking technocratic, corporatist, i.e. fascist, social democratic political cultures in allergic reaction. The government structures of both eastern and western metropolitan centres consolidated themselves as population policing, medical military complexes with neo-mercantilist foreign policy orientations. All such formations slid into irreversible crisis in the 1980s.